Beat making is about to get really weird, and not in a great way. Music, period, is going to change. Copyright laws are going to change. The way music is consumed is going to change. The entire music business and the music business economy, regardless of what level you're at, is going to change for you. Yes, it has to do with AI. Is AI going to replace producers? I'm going to talk about that in the next video a lot more directly. However, right now I want to address the fear that, beat sales are down, because they are. I think there's a lot going on. I think the economy is a major factor as to why beat sales are down. Whenever I talk to, and I've sold beats to thousands of individuals, thousands, more than ever, the people that are buying beats from me are reaching out directly asking for deals. They're telling me, hey, I can't buy beats right now, I'm broke. There's a lot going on. I mean, it's back to school season, whatever. There are a lot of things going on. But not a single one of these thousands, if I got at least 10,000 people on my email list after having, erased a bunch of inactive emails. So I may have amassed 50,000 plus emails since I started selling beats online. Out of all of those tens of thousands of artists, not a single one of them have ever reached out to me and said, I'm not buying beats anymore because I'm using AI to make my beats. And there's a reason for that. Number one, the people who are using AI are more likely going to be producers than rappers and singers. Or they're going to be people like Talisha, the woman behind Zanaya Monet, the AI sensation that's signing multi-million-dollar deals. She can't sing, she can't play an instrument, but she writes great lyrics, and so she's plugging them into Suno. A song comes out, people love it. She's the first and only person to do this as far as I know. And I'll show you what I mean, producers. This is my BeatStars panel right now. It's Sunday. Let me move my head out the way. Today is Sunday. These are my sales notifications for today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beats sold today. Sold a few beats yesterday. That was Saturday. Sold more on... why can't I scroll down, man? Damn. I sold more on Friday, whatever. You're just going to have to take my word for it. But you can see the sales. Even in slow months, people are still purchasing beats because there are still artists out there with standards who understand that high quality beats are an important part of their sound, of their sonic identity, of their branding, of their process. But as we know, a lot of AI is flooding the market. Recently, Deezer just reported that a third of all new songs uploaded to streaming platforms is 100% AI generated. And now that we have an artist like Zanaya Monet, who recently got signed for $3 million to Hellwood, who currently has over 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, we're definitely going to start seeing a lot of copycats who see what she's doing, see that she's winning, and they're going to try it out. Remember, Timbaland tried it out with Tata. It didn't work out so well. So that didn't result in a wave of emerging so-called AI artists. I'm just going to call them avatars because they're not artists themselves. They require a human to input lyrics. And then Suno, which admittedly has stolen a bunch of songs and trained their platform on millions of songs. Basically, it all requires human input, so there's no such thing as an AI artist necessarily. But this is the most successful avatar, and this is going to certainly set a trend. It's certainly going to attract more users to platforms such as Suno, right? So why am I saying production is about to get weird? I'm going to show proof. I always do. I always come with evidence, but it has to do with the homogenization of art. Homogenization meaning making everything the same, because that's what AI does. AI isn't this innovative technology. AI can only interpret and analyze what humans have already created and then create derivative work. That's why it's such a problem. That's why there are class action lawsuits against multiple platforms. That's why there's I covered it. They created an AI chatbot that learned on a bunch of copyrighted books, and they just had to pay out millions, I think billions of dollars to the various authors whose work they stole. If you like this video and you want to be a part of my very small community and also get every copy of the drum and sample packs that I've released over the last couple months and will release in the future months for free, join the Patreon, patreon.com/DJPayne1. The link is in the description and the comment section. Appreciate you. I hope to see you there. Remember when this was all the rage? It lasted for like a couple weeks. Everyone wanted this exact AI generator, whatever. And so everything just looked the same. Everything looked the same. Everything looks the same here. The newest one, I think it already died out, was this like 90s era on the bed rotary phone girl room thing. It all looks the same. The trends just all look the same. I mean, AI, you know when someone's using AI art because it looks the same as the last piece of AI artwork that you saw. It might fool your elderly auntie. It might fool your grandmother. She might actually think there are multiple videos caught on Ring doorbell cams of alligators playing baseball with polar bears or cats riding on the backs of coyotes and ringing doorbells and giving the homeowner the middle finger. I love those videos, I'm not gonna lie to you, but they are not real. And anyone with half a brain and a little bit of experience on the internet can start spotting these visual trends because everything looks the goddamn same. And that's what's going to happen to music. And let's get into the musical part of this. Now let's go back to Zanaya Monet. Her top 3 songs are How Was I Supposed to Know, I Asked for So Little, and Let Go, Let God. I have a sneaking suspicion that she's using, Suno has a option where you can remix songs that you've already created. I have a sneaking suspicion she's doing this. You know, you make one song in Suno and it sounds pretty good. It's not always easy to get a song in Suno sounding good. So when you get one that sounds good, you want to continue using it. And so I think that's probably what she's doing. She's just continuing to clone existing songs that sound good, and that's created her sound. I'm just using an example. I've extracted the drums from her top 3 best performing songs. We're going to run them down. These are the drums from her number 1 most highly streamed song, How Was I Supposed to Know? Those are those drums. Here's her second most popular song, Let Go, Let God. Here are the drums on that track. Here are the drums on her third most highly streamed song. What do you notice here? You can even see that these are pretty much the identical drum pattern. And you'll also notice they're very similar in tempo, and the format is the same in each one. You get these more subdued drums in the verse section, and then they build up on the hook, and then the drum sounds change. I guarantee you, if you listen to her songs, you're gonna hear that exact formula in each of the tracks. See, this is the hook. The snare's a little louder, but these are some of the most basic drum patterns ever. I've heard that there are live elements added to because, you know, the question is this music copyrightable? Yeah, probably. I mean, as I said, she wrote the lyrics. Again, this is the reason why her songs are popular and other AI music isn't, because her lyrics are relatable, because she's a human who's had lived experiences and is creative and intelligent enough to communicate those feelings through the words. That's why people love the songs. Look, I have a problem with AI. I'm not trying to take anything away from Talisha. Get your money. Shout out to her for getting her money. She's the only one who's doing this. This hasn't really caught on yet. And I have a feeling that my sister Erin and my brother Federa, we're going to talk about what Federa just recently said, but he's echoing the sentiments of Aaron Knight from the podcast. And I think I'm starting to come around to their side of things. But people were saying, you know, yes, she owns the underlying composition because she wrote the lyrics. Does she own the master recording, the sound recording copyright? Miss Crystal was saying this, Crystal Delgado, the top music attorney. And a lot of folks are saying, well, we heard, they're not saying where they heard it, we heard there were live elements included in these songs somehow. But the main criterion to getting a copyright on AI generated material, because by default, if you generate a piece of art through AI, you don't own the copyright to it. It requires sufficient human input. So people were saying, okay, well, we heard that there were live instruments added to these Zanaya Monet songs, which means that's sufficient human input to claim copyright ownership. I don't hear it. I'm in RipX, so I've broken down the stems to I Asked for So Little. And if I mute the voice and the piano and the bass, and these were all AI generated, all we get is the drum track. And we know those aren't live. So I don't think there are live. I've seen no evidence that there's any sort of incorporation of live elements in any of these tracks. So it's just piano, bass, drums. As far as the beats go, piano, bass, drums, very basic. You see a lot of people having conversations about AI, and they're like, you producers got to step your game up because AI can do it all better than you. Yeah, okay, sure. They can do it better than you because you have no taste. And we're talking, people say trap beats are so simple, blah, blah, blah. I think the real takeaway here is don't listen to what people say on the internet because everyone's just full of shit. But if you go to like a Keon video or a Max Shooter video or a J Cactus video and you see the kind, or Prod by Jack, whoever, you can see the sound design that is involved in making their tracks. This is something that I have not heard AI do successfully because, again, AI needs to steal Keon's music in order to create something on the level of Keon, and they have to steal, a large sample size. So they would have to steal a bunch of beats that he co-produced, a bunch of stuff that Max Shooter co-produced, a bunch of stuff that Q Beats co-produced, just so that AI can create some sort of generative sound design element. So I'm not making this video to tell the producer community that the sky is falling. I don't think it is. And I don't think artists listen to these AI generated tracks and think, wow, these are so much better than anything I've ever heard a human make. AI doesn't work the way humans work because AI isn't living through what humans live through. Go back to these old hip hop classics where you had to really use limited resources. AI doesn't need limited resources, so there's no ingenuity there. Move to current times where producers have a room full of modular synths like Keon does, and they have all the time in the world and all the resources in the world to flip samples and incorporate granular synthesis and actual synthesis and do all kinds of crazy stuff. AI doesn't know how to do that because that's not the framework through which AI creates music. So I want to do some speculation here because this is weird. Shout out to my brother Federo. He's saying some real shit here. I want you to listen to what he's saying.
Everybody has been talking about this AI artist that with this $3 million deal, right? Let's break this down. The person who made that artist, she dropped about 6 songs on streaming platforms. The songs went viral, right? The collection of songs, the 6 songs which got her the $3 million deal, only generated $60,000 so far. Where does the $3 million valuation come from for a record deal? But look how sneaky this is. And we had a ton of people, a ton of creatives talking about this AI artist, with this $3 million deal, and there's videos all over the place. But the $3 million was never the thing. There was so much publicity for that $3 million deal, people writing posts, people writing blogs. And I tried to tell one of my friends, it was never about the deal, because let's say I get a $3 million deal tomorrow. That doesn't mean I have $3 million. We have to look deeper within the terms.
All of these are good points. As Federo said, if someone boasts that they just signed a $3 million deal, that doesn't mean that they automatically just have $3 million liquid cash sitting in their bank accounts. That's probably not how it works in Zanaya Monet's case, but let's just say it does. Let's just say this avatar signed a deal on behalf of her human for $3 million net. She got $3 million delivered to her. Something's not adding up. Federo said he calculated that the sum total of all her streams amounted to 60,000. On Spotify alone, I counted about 15 million streams, which amounts to about 52,500. Let's say she did this amount on other platforms. Let's say she did that amount on 5 other platforms. That's still only about $250,000. And this is an incredibly liberal estimate of her streaming revenue. Now, $262,500, that's a decent amount of money. I think if you are able to make that in just a summer as a solo artist, then yeah, labels are going to be knocking at your door. Absolutely. What I always wondered was why would a corporate entity give the human who was prompting AI $3 million for a deal when they themselves haven't generated anywhere close to that $3 million? That's neither here nor there. But why doesn't the company just create their own Zanaya Monet and keep all the money themselves? They have songwriters signed to them. Why don't they just get a songwriter that's signed to them to write a bunch of lyrics, or take a bunch of lyrics that never turned into songs and plug that into Suno the same way, instead of shelling out $3 million? What Aaron was saying, and what I think Federo might be insinuating, is that this is just all marketing for the AI companies, because if you promote that an artist who can't sing, who can't produce, who doesn't even record record music can use a platform like Suno to generate a $3 million deal for themselves, that's the best kind of advertising. And it's not a major label that signed her at all. So that would probably be poor optics right now and a conflict of interest, because remember, the labels are still currently suing Suno via the RIAA. So it would have to be a company like Hellwood Media. And so Aaron's thing was, and I'm not saying this is true, I'm saying it's a hell of a conspiracy theory that I'm now starting to see could be closer to the truth. What she was saying is that, well, maybe it's that Suno is giving Hellwood Media $1 million, and maybe they're giving them a full $3 million and saying, all right, sign this artist. This is going to be great publicity for us, because Suno would have that kind of money. So maybe they're just doing that. As a result, they know their revenue and their valuation is going to go through the roof because they're getting so much attention. I'm sure they got a ton of attention after all the publicity Timberland was getting, and now they're getting even more publicity because, you know, people aren't upset so much. Kalani is, and, you know, Kalani's pretty much right about everything. The producer community, you don't hear them complaining about Zanaya Monet the way they were complaining about Timberland. So this is a much better PR move for the AI companies. And in the podcast, I shared this too. This is a screenshot from Talisha Nikki Jones' own Facebook claiming that she just signed a deal, a publishing deal. Allegedly, that publishing deal is with APG. So I don't know how much money that publishing deal would be worth, but if this is the amount that she's made off her streams, this is an estimate, of course, we really don't know, because streaming revenue is 80% master and 20% underlying composition. The publishing deal would be for a fraction of that remaining 20%. So how much is that? So now we're back to $52,500. This is the value, the current value, not the potential value, but the current value that this avatar would bring to a publishing company. So why would a publishing company as highly esteemed as APG sign an artist who has only generated this amount of money? I mean, I don't have a publishing deal, and I've generated way more than this off of my underlying composition, my mechanicals and my performance royalties just within the last year. I don't know, something's a little fishy. So again, I think a lot of people are going to rush to the AI space, to the AI platforms. They're going to use AI. They're going to create tracks with AI, and no matter how amazing AI might sound right now, and it can do some amazing things, there's going to be a lot of homogeneity. And just as we see with the visuals, we're going to hear it with the musical elements and the sonic elements in a lot of this AI generated content that's going to inevitably start coming out and flooding the streaming platforms because they see that one person made $3 million. It's like the Soulja Boy phenomenon. You know, when Soulja Boy goes on Napster and does what he does on Napster, a bunch of other artists copy. Soulja Boy goes on MySpace, gets signed off MySpace, a bunch of other artists rush to MySpace. Because if you see an artist do it once and it's heavily publicized, then a bunch of other artists are going to rush in. I don't blame them. They're going to rush in and try to do the same thing to duplicate that success. Can they duplicate the success? I don't think so, especially not if these conspiracies are true and the success isn't in fact as authentic as maybe they're claiming it is. I don't know, again, but I'm going to dive more into this in a future video that I'm going to make very shortly. I have some pretty, I guess, depressing information, not necessarily about music production, but just AI in general. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate you watching this video. Don't get discouraged. Make your music, make good music. I mean, hopefully you're not listening to the people in the comment section saying that everything's over because AI is about to take over music. It's trying to. It is. Is it going to? Not right now. It's not. No.